Yahweh, Haganawa, Yahweh, Achad, Shema, Yasha'Allah, Yahweh, Haganawa, Yahweh, Achad, Shema, Yasha'Allah, Yahweh, Haganawa, Yahweh, Achad. All right, Shalom Akim is a high spirit. We're in Judah of the Gem Mississippi camp. Giving all honor and glory to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Hakodash. Also, want to give double honor to our apostles, the great millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the house of David the elect. All right, I'm a high spirit. We're in Judah. All right, and today I'm going into a live stream entitled Esau's Way is a Proven Failure. All right, Esau's Way is a proven failure, man. All right, and shalom to you, brothers and sisters who are tuning into this live stream. All right, you know, and like I said, I was meditating on something in my car. The spirit is putting inside my mind. All right, the spirit is putting inside my mind. All right, to meditate on Esau's way. Okay, because I was listening to the news radio, and one of the things that was going on in India was talking about restricting Twitter. Anything that's talking about violence, or I think anything sexual, if I'm not mistaken, are just going to be restricted. And India's government is threatening to ban Twitter if so. And in turn, you know, Twitter wants to sue, like FaceApp and everybody. They want to sue India. But the reason why these countries are like this, because they don't want their nation to go a-whoring after the West. All right, which goes back to the title, Esau's way is a proven failure. All right, when I say way, all right, it's talking about his system. All right, his mindset, what we call Westernization, Western thought, is a proven failure. Okay, all right. One example, all right, is marriage. All right, Esau tells you that, you know, women can be liberated. You know, they could put their career first, so they could go through the welfare system to obtain children. But that has proven to be a failure for our people. All right. Another thing is homosexuality. All right. If two men get together, they cannot reproduce. All right. The Most High's way is very simple. You know, man has semen, woman has egg, and that produces offspring, and that offspring produces that same system. He has a son, she has a daughter. She goes and find a husband and reproduce that same structure, and he goes and find a wife and produce that same structure. It's very simple, but yet that has been demonized. All right, Esau's way is a proven failure. A real system. When I say system, I mean a government. A government is a system. All right, a government are rules put together to create a system to run a particular environment. Right? Like your job has a system. It has rules. It has rules of discipline. Rules of it has what do you call it? A treasury, so to speak. So that the particular business has money. They have rules. All right. They have all these things implemented, all right, to sustain that job, to sustain their corporation. All right. But Esau was not so. He has systems, but those systems are proven failure. All right, that's why it says in Proverbs 31:3, give not thy strength to women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kingdoms. All right, and Esau's way is a way that destroyeth kingdoms, because it causes people to degenerate. It causes people to deviate. All right, there's something called a standard. Our standard is the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. That's our standard. Those are the rules that we follow, that we adhere. To adhere means to stick. Like you have an adhesive, all right, causes something to stick. So our adherence to the law was something that sustained us in our homeland, Jerusalem. It made us self-sustaining, self-governing, in a sense that we didn't have to be under the rule of an outside government. All right, which is something that we can't fathom as Israelites in America, especially the Southern Kingdom. We can't fathom being in a self-sustaining world or a sovereign nation or without somebody ruling over us, man. That's part of that serving class mentality that our people have adopted in America, man. All right, but going back to the lesson, you adhere to these standards, also known as rules or statutes, all right, and commandments. But in return, that sustains your people. That's why the Most High had laws or systems where a young woman who would be a virgin and she would get married. And that's why the Most High had laws where, you know, if a man stole something, he returned it sevenfold. That's why the Most High had a welfare system where, you know, once you harvest your crops, you don't take everything. You leave certain things for the homeless, man, and the fatherless, man, because those were systems that allowed our people to be self-sustaining. All right. A real system is self-sustaining, meaning it could run itself, man, to where we had judges in our nations, and in some parts we had kings. Or going back to the book of Kings, but when that king dies, that nation doesn't die. His son comes in his stead as an heir, and all he does is implement the same system that his father did, that his predecessor had, man. The system is simply the laws, all right? And those other nations, yeah, they're heathens, but in part they have self-sustaining systems when it comes to their survival as a people. Part of it is marriage. So why would you destroy a self-sustaining system where you can influence women saying, look, you could put a career before marriage, or, you know, you could get on something called fans only or something similar to fans only, like over there in Egypt right now. And you could go a whoring and get all this male attention instead of being a wife. All right. That's the way of the serpent. The nature of a serpent is somebody that's subtle. All right. Somebody that's clever. All right. And the way of the serpent is to seduce you out of your structure that sustains your people. In part, Esau, when the serpent beguiled Eve, he seduced her into a way that took them out of rulership. He seduced her into a way that took them out of a ruling, self-sustaining kingdom, man. It sounded good, right? That's why you don't give your strength to women. And that's why the scripture says you don't give a woman authority. In Timothy, a woman should not usurp authority over you. Because why? A woman is not meant to rule. She's meant to be ruled over. A woman has the spirit of a child. If you give a child a choice as to what he's going to eat, and you give him the option to eat either this salad or this junk food, which one is that child going to eat? He's going to eat whatever's the most appealing to his taste. Same thing with women, all right? Women, if you give them the option, especially in their youth, they're going to choose a man that's more appealing to their senses, to their taste, man, every time. If not so, why are 80% of our women single? All right, because they don't choose a man who has a character that's conducive to a family structure. All right, which is a small element in Esau's kingdom, in Esau's failing kingdom. Going back to Proverbs 31:3, give not thy strength to women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kingdom. In this particular context, in this live stream, Westernization or Esau's way is a way that destroyed kingdoms. You have Japan, which had a decline in 1 million people within the past 7 years because the women have chosen their careers over marriage. The fact that it's a smaller country than America, you can see the results of Westernization quicker as opposed to America, which has a population of almost 400 million. So you don't see the results or the consequences as fast. All right, showing you and proving that Esau's way is not self-sustaining. If you look at the planet Earth, you have something called the water cycle, the nitrogen cycle, which in essence allows life to go from the atmosphere to the land, to the waters, and back to the atmosphere. All right, and it passes life to every organism on this planet Earth, and that's without the help of Esau. The Earth has a system that causes it to self-sustain itself, and the way you know that system is proficient and sufficient, all right, is that it can recycle over and over again. You can recycle the construct of a man and a woman over and over and over again. Like some of those heathen that live in the East, their system of marriage is proficient. It's sufficient, all right? Because you get a man, and you might have an arranged marriage, all right, where he marries that woman, all right? And she knows her role, he knows his masculine role. There's no struggle of a masculine frame and feminine frame, and what's the alpha male, and are you being a beta male? He knows his role as a man, or she knows her role as a woman. And they have children, and they're actually role models for their children. That's what a role model is. They model out the role that you're supposed to play, because a child is like a computer, and that you're programming that child with that software program of marriage. So the daughter, she knows her role by watching the mother, and the son knows his role by watching the father. So by the time they grow up, the son goes out and find him a wife, and they replay that same role, because the wife that he found, she saw her mother play that role. And the daughter goes out and find her husband, and she goes out and play that feminine, submissive role to her husband, that nourishing role. And the husband knows his role because he learned that from his father. And they can replay that generation after generation after generation. A country is a business, and their system is their laws. Our laws was the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Shema Shai. Those are divine order, all right, on the planet Earth, sent by Yahweh Shema Shai, all right? And you can replay that system over, just like the planet Earth can replay that water cycle over and over again, or the nitrogen cycle over and over again, passing life to every living thing on the planet Earth, and the water and the land. All right, the law, statutes, and commandments, you can play that thing over and over again. All right, as long as you have a judge or a ruler that adheres to those laws. All right, deviancy, all right, the degeneracy in a nation is a result of the people deviating from those laws. And that's what the ways of Esau does. He's causing the nations to deviate from their natural way. Right, deviating from their ancient traditions. That's why it says in Nahum's that the nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Part of her wine was her freedom, her Christianity, the democracy, which destroyed the pillars of their nation, which destroyed those customs that really sustained their nation, man. All right? The law, statutes, and commandments is a system in which you run a people. That's a fact. Law, statutes, and commandments is a system in which you run your people. And no matter what king came into power, as long as he was a righteous king, meaning righteous means law, as long as he adhered to those laws, all right, then those people were going to be in the same environment over and over again, all right? And you do it over and over and over again, to where if the Most High left the nation of Israel and came back to visit 1,000 years later, as long as that system is being kept, our people are still going to be upheld. But what about we implement the ways of Esau? All right, women could go out and get career. They could prioritize a career over marriage, or women could let niggas nut in them. All right, but they don't actually have to have a man in the house because they'll get taken care of by a surrogate system. All right, women could be lesbians. All right, men could be homosexuals. What happened if you let that happen and you leave and come back 50 years later, 100 years later, man? Chaos is going to happen. All right, so many, you're going to be like, damn, what the hell? Because you had an insufficient system to run your people. All right? There's one of the biggest misconceptions is that you have to go in and correct the Most High. The Most High knew what he was doing when he gave us these laws. All right? He knew what he was doing when he gave us these laws, man. It might make sense and feel good the first generation, but after a while, the generations start to deteriorate because of deviancy. To deviate means to leave, to go perverted, to go the other way. All right? Because they had adhered to the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Shema Shai. And the ways of Esau, also known as Westernization or modernization, all right, is failure. It's been proven to be a failure to self-sustain itself. A real system can self-sustain itself, man. All right? And that's what that was about. That was the government. That's why it says, I believe that's in Isaiah, the Most High is going to bring us a governor. See, Yahweh Shai, all right? It's going to bring us a governor. See, in the kingdom, well, we say kingdom. Kingdom is basically a government. It's just a righteous government. That's all it is. And that government is going to be ran by Yahweh Shai, all right? And under Yahweh Shai is going to be King David. Under King David is going to be the 12 apostles. Under the 12 apostles is going to be the elect of the nation of Israel. And not only are we going to govern, all right, the planet Earth, all right, we're ultimately going to govern the universe. Like I said in Friday, the whole world, Craig, all right, because like it says in St. John 14:2, in the lesson I did last night, I brought it out. It says, in my Father's house are many mansions. And if you look at the word mansions, it goes back to the word dwelling. All right, place of habitation. So those planets are place of habitations, but the law, statutes, and commandments are going to be implemented out there. And elect, all right, whatever providence that he has, all right, he's going to govern that place through the law, statutes, and commandments. All right. See, Esau was in the way. The more I get into nature, and the more I get into how the ways, how people are supposed to be, the more I learn that Esau was a damn counselor, man, because he disrupts the system, man. That's what he has something called pollution. What one person is responsible for pollution on this biosphere that we live in, man? What's one person that pollutes the fuck? How can you pollute somebody's oxygen tank? Earth is our oxygen tank, man. How can you pollute a motherfucker's oxygen tank, man? Esau was in a damn way. How can you pollute ways, traditionalism as they call it, specifically the law, statutes, and commandments? How can you pollute something that sustains a nation of people, man? All right? How can you pollute something that sustains a nation of people? At one point, America was the richest country in the world, but you go to those same cities that America advertised, it's homeless people all over the place, man. Sleeping under a bridge. You go to New Orleans, you go to Washington, D.C., you go to parts of California, it's homeless people everywhere. But in our homeland, Jerusalem, all right, the homeless people ate. The homeless people ate because when you harvest your crops, like I said, you didn't harvest every single crop. All right? But then in return, the Most High had a law for people who are passing through. You know, if you are going through somebody's vineyard or they field, you only could take what you could get. Don't bring no extra baskets. Only take what you can put in your hand. It's been a minute since I visited that scripture, but you only take whatever you could get while you're there. All right? Even at a restaurant, they'll say it's all you can eat, but take what you could get. You know? Don't take no to-go plate at the buffet. You can only eat while you're there, right? Same thing with our systems. It was a self-sustaining system. And you can replay the same government generation after generation after generation. A judge dies, his son comes back in his stead and play that same system. All he doing is enforcing that same system. When I worked a particular job some years ago, we used to have something called rotating supervisors. Well, you have a supervisor, all right, that'll come in and he might be there 3 months, 6 months. The next thing you know, the company decides to rotate him. Next thing you know, we have a whole new supervisor with a whole different personality. But something that I became aware of, as long as you follow the rules, it doesn't really matter what supervisor you have, okay? As long as you follow the rules, it doesn't matter what supervisor I had. I knew 3 things. Well, I knew a few things. I knew that I had to do my job. I know that I had to do something called 5S. When a line stopped, I was on the production line. When a line stopped, I had to do something called 5S, which basically I had to organize my work area when a line stopped, or I had to clean up when a line stopped. I had to stock up my area when a line stopped. All right. I knew I had to come to work on time. All right. So I had to come to work on time, do my job sufficiently, all right, proficiently, and I had to clean up when a line stopped. So I was never really worried about what supervisor I had, because that system was in place no matter what supervisor I had. And I just adhered to the same system. So for the most part, the supervisor never really had anything to say to me. I stayed out the way and did my job because I just followed the same system. I wasn't an Israelite. I wasn't a Jake that took advantage of nice supervisors or whatever. I just knew my job. Same thing with the law, statutes, and commandments. It didn't matter what king came into power as long as he was a righteous king. And you really didn't have to worry about nothing as long as you kept the laws. All right? Same thing in these camps. You know, the heads of the camp, whether they're forward or gentle, as said the scriptures, you still got to be obedient to them, the heads of your camps. But if you know what's expected of you in your camp, you don't have to worry about nothing, because your camp is ran by a system. All right, we teach on this day, we have class on this day. You grow your beard, you don't freaking get a hairline, you don't commit adultery. Things is visible to your camp leader. You do a video once a week. If you're doing your job, you following the rules or the standards, you adhere to the system. All right, in most cases, you're gonna be a good standard with your leaders, man. All right. And if a leader is wicked, the Most High unpluck their leader and replace their leader, but their system is still gonna be there. All right. So you might have a leader that's more lenient. You might have a leader that's more forward. Either way, you obey that leader, but ultimately you just obeying that system that was put together by Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. All right. But going back to the live stream, Esau's way has proven failure, and the reason why it's proven failure, Ultimately, it's against Yahweh Shema Shai, and it cannot self-sustain itself. The way everything is now in America, it cannot reproduce itself for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 generations. It's only going to decline until it's destroyed. That's why Yahweh Shai is going to come like Superman to save us and ultimately the planet Earth, his planet. All right? They had this show called Captain Planet. Really, Yahweh Shai is the real Captain Planet. All right? He's coming to save his planet. All those movies about the UFOs, all right, ultimately, those are the angels. Pursuing the second Ezra 13, Revelations the 19th chapter, all right, so on and so forth. All those movies about UFOs, it was really about Yahweh Shai saving his people, all right, and the planet. Because you have a man that's in rulership that does not have self-sustaining, does not have a self-sustaining system, and it's knocking the earth out of balance. That's why it says in Isaiah that you've turned everything upside down. The earth is out of course. All right? The earth is out of course, man. So, I mean, I'm pretty much drawing this lesson to a closing, man. The law, statutes, and commandments was a sufficient system, and it was self-sustaining. It was self-sustaining, meaning that you didn't have to change it, you didn't have to alter it. All you had to do was implement it. All you had to do was apply it, generation after generation, and it can sustain itself no matter who was the king or the judge, man. All right, that's how an efficient company is on your job. That's how your household is, man. All right. But with that, I hope you brothers and sisters were edified. I hope you were built up off this live stream. Hope you were edified. Like I said, I want to give all honor and glory to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahashemi, Hamashai, Bahashar, Hakudash. I want to give double honors to our apostles, the great millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the house of David the elect, Abba, coming,